Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Hinata, Shion and Sarah? Part 2. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, so without wasting any time, let's get into the video. After crossing the renowned vast desert of the Wind Country, we finally arrived at the hidden village of the Sand due to the Kazekage's personal request to Naruto-kun. While we have covered some serious distance from the Leaf Village, the trip was quite enjoyable with just the two of us. After all, this was the first time that Naruto and I traveled together outside of the village since his return, and since he was visiting Kazekage-sama as a friend and not as an official entourage. So there's not much pressure on us on this visit to the Sand. As we entered the main gate of the Sand Village, we were warmly greeted by the onlooking villagers, though most of them were cheering for Naruto-kun, not me. Not that I care that much. Naruto-kun was the hero of the shinobi world. Realizing that while watching Naruto's back for so long, I can't help but feel proud of him. Oh. I no longer am chasing his back. We were now walking side by side. That thought alone made my inner self squeal in happiness. He is my dream, and being able to walk by his side, hand in hand, was my lifelong goal. We were already nearing 2 years in a relationship as a couple, despite almost a year and a half of it being him on an S-rank training mission. It can't be helped back then. He needed to train to get stronger and be prepared for possible future threats, now that the shinobi world was encountering powerful beings such as the Otsutsukis. However, if there was anything right now that was hurting me, was the newly implemented law by the daimyos. They were now allowing registered male shinobi of the 5 great shinobi nations to marry multiple wives. While they indeed have logical grounds for the implementation of the said law, I believe that those were just mere excuses, as it will only end up as a tool for those in higher society to control powerful shinobi who have fought and survived the recent shinobi world war, mainly Naruto-kun and Sasuke-kun. And here I thought that I can finally walk side by side with Naruto-kun, with just the two of us. However, due to that law, we may still end up walking side by side, but with possibly other women by her side. To make matters worse, I might end up the one being left behind if political marriages began coming to play. The only saving grace that I can see, for now, is to help Naruto-kun find another girl who will accept and love him as who he is. As much as it pains me, that's the best possible option that we have for now. I know that Naruto-kun himself hated the idea, but we don't have a choice. If things will end up with him going to be married into random nobles for mere political reasons and become a pawn under political sense, then I would rather accept the alternative. However, Sakura-sen already have Sasuke-kun, Ino-sen was now with Sai-san, Tenten-sen was more or less with Lee-kun. I even actually thought of Temari-sen due to Kazekage-sama's current invitation, but she was already with Shikamaru-san. That was also aside from the fact that those girls weren't even seeing Naruto-kun as a potential partner in life, rather it was more of a comrade-in-arms relationship. But still, just imagining one of those girls talking and spending time with Naruto-kun as a potential love interest hurts me. I have not felt this much jealousy even during the time that Naruto was trying to flirt with Sakura-sen back then. Maybe because the love between me and Naruto-kun at that time was still one-sided, mostly on my end. But as of now, I hate that part of myself. I don't have any reason to be jealous. The fact that he nearly decided to leave the village together with me, so our relationship wouldn't be affected by that law, was more than enough for me to clear any doubts that were currently clouding my heart. I shook my head internally. Now is not the time to think about something like that. Naruto-kun was about to meet Kazekage-sama. I need to present myself as the rightful girl for Naruto-kun in front of those people whom he valued the most. We were welcomed by Kankuro-san and Temari-san right after we entered the gate. It was fun chatting with them while we were on the way towards the Kazekage Tower. Midway towards our destination, Kazekage-sama himself appeared through some sand-based jutsu, and he exchanged pleasantries with Naruto-kun. I already knew that they were good friends. But seeing Naruto-kun having a friend of such standing in other villages still made me feel happy for him. We spent our time in the guest room with Kankuro-san and Kazekage-sama. The boys, especially Naruto-kun and Kankuro-san, lively exchanged casual jokes and conversation, while Kazekage-sama also talked to them from time to time. I feel like I am just here as an audience, but I don't mind. They were Naruto-kun's close acquaintances. So seeing him having fun while having such light-hearted conversation made it feel fun for me as well. Then, Temari-sen was called by Kazekage-sama, inviting another person outside of our current circle. Kazekage-sama even asked Naruto-kun something about the lost city of Rauren. Well, I also am familiar with it due to history classes during the academy days, that still made me wonder what all this was about. It was then that I realized, might be a woman's instinct or such, that something was about to happen right now that will test the current status of our relationship. No, not just that, but the extent of love and trust between me and Naruto-kun. Then, a very beautiful girl entered the room. Her silky, red-colored, waist-length hair and royalish attire that more or less matched with the color of her hair, her careful gesture, and her sincere yet determined purple-colored eyes, made me realize that she is some queen or sort from some other nation. And what surprised me that much was the way she called Naruto-kun by his name. The way she called his name, and how her eyes expressively reacted as she called him, immediately made me realize that she had a very special connection with Naruto-kun, mostly on her part. Naruto might have met her sometime, somewhere, just that I am not familiar with when or how. However, the way Naruto-kun started towards her says so otherwise. He didn't recognize her on the surface. But I can see it in his eyes that Naruto-kun felt something towards her. But he can't just figure it out. I looked towards him as he tried his best to think, trying to remember her, to the point that he was gripping his head, as if trying to uncover whatever memories he might have of her. But to no avail. His mind betrays his memories. But his feelings for others won't. That's who Naruto is. I actually don't know how I'd feel in the current situation. In front of me was a very beautiful girl with visible affection for Naruto-kun, my fiancé. Him, on the other hand, was having trouble and doing his best trying to browse his deepest memories just to remember her. It was then that I knew that there was a much deeper connection between the two of them, and even more so on part of the girl. While I don't have any clear information of what the relationship between the two of them have, it was still painful for me to see Naruto-kun react like that in front of another woman other than me. However, as I look at the girls through her sad, longing eyes, as she looked towards Naruto-kun, all of a sudden, I saw a familiar reflection of version of my past self in her. The version of me who can't be able to do anything but watch the person that I love the most from afar, always doing my best trying to reach that person, only to always fall short due to my own weakness. Upon seeing Naruto-kun gripping his head with his right hand, I tried to console him by holding his left hand with both my hands, as he seemed to have trouble breathing, while still trying to remember the girl. The last time I saw him like this was when Neji Niasen died in front of us during the war. So I tried my best to do the same as I did back then, held his hand and ensure him that I'll always be there for him. It was then that the red-haired girl kneeled in front of us. Her purple eyes met with mine. She apologized to me, her emotions clearly emitting in those earnest eyes, as if akin to a pleading one. She then requested to hold Naruto's hand even for one last time. And her expression when she told me that pained me. Because the very reason why I saw a version of myself in her was because we're the same. She also loves Naruto-kun just like me. And the reason why she was crying right now was because she finally understood that she can no longer reach him anymore. Because he already had me by his side. So she doesn't have any other choice but to give up her feelings for him. And all she was asking me right now was to allow her to hold his hand even for one last time. She's not doing this not for any other reason, she just needed closure to support her broken heart and attempt to move on from here. If I were in her shoes, I don't know if I have enough resolve to do that. I would rather run away, far away, without trying to approach the person that I love. I don't think that I have enough resolve for that closure like this girl intends to do. Because I know that I will break apart. I never loved another person as much as I loved Naruto-kun. So what I have for this person right now was respect and admiration because she has the resolve to do something that I don't know if I am capable of. That's why I gently grabbed her hand and with the two of us, touched Naruto-kun's still trembling left hand. She was visibly surprised and even asked me why I did that. And all I can say was, I know that this is the first time that we have met. However, after I saw your feelings and emotions for Naruto-kun, I can't help but feel that I can easily relate to those feelings that you were keeping this entire time within yourself. You know Naruto as who he is, not as what he is, am I right? Even I am surprised that I was able to say such words towards this other girl who have visible affection for my fiancé. But I just can't help it. It wasn't just mere sympathy. It was because I can see the other side of me in her. If Toneri Otsutsuki succeeded in taking me away from Naruto-kun back then, I can see myself having the same broken feelings as her right now. She continued crying, as if praying with our intertwined hands that were touching her forehead. And in that instance, I saw a dream. I saw a girl surrounded by puppets trying to kill her. Then, I saw Naruto-kun doing his best trying to protect her. I saw how Naruto talked to her, continuously encouraging her to do what was right as the queen of her people. I saw how Naruto-kun slowly changed her from a self-centered girl into a righteous queen who will do everything that she can to protect and save her people. And he did so unintentionally. And that was when the girl began to develop some deep feelings for him. After those memories flashed through my mind, the former queen, now whom I finally knew as Queen Sara of Rauren, stood up and without any other word decided to leave the room. If it was painful for me before, then more so right now after I saw her memories, her true feelings. I tried to stop her, but she didn't even bother to look around, or else her resolve will break down. But I can't just leave her be. She had nowhere to go, and the only solace that she had on this foreign timeline for her, right now, was to be with Naruto's side. Sarah, all of a sudden, Naruto-kun spoke. Queen Sarah was visibly stunned, her feet seemed to get stuck on where she currently is. And as if after completely recollecting himself, he yelled at her, this time with his usual behavior. He yelled at her with all his energy. I don't know why, but this made me smile. Finally, Naruto-kun was finally back to his usual self and also was finally able to remember her. She didn't respond to him. The only thing she did was tackle and hug him tightly. Queen Sarah then began crying, burying her face into Naruto-kun's chest. Naruto-kun was visibly confused. Then, as if afraid of something, he looked towards me. Well, I do feel a little jealous from seeing another woman hugging my fiancé. This time, I don't mind. If not because of everything that I saw, maybe I had stopped her from hugging my fiancé even before she could reach him. Maybe next time. But not for now. So I simply smiled towards Naruto-kun, telling him that it's fine. Naruto-kun returned the smile, then replied with a silent thank you to me. He then placed both his hands on Queen Sarah's shoulder, as if to calm her emotions. With his memories of her finally returned, I can now clearly see that Naruto really treasured her, the same as how he treated his Konoha friends and comrades. But for Queen Sarah, it was this kindness of his that made her deeply fall in love with him. Queen Sarah of Rauren, a girl who was trapped in our timeline, with her only wish, was being able to stay with Naruto-kun. And then there's me, Naruto-kun's fiancé. I still hate that law. And I still don't like the thought of sharing Naruto-kun with another woman. I don't like him being forced into a marriage due to political reasons or anything relative to that. But we don't have a choice but to abide by the law as shinobi under that law, so the only option that we have was for Naruto to find and marry another woman who will love him as who he is. Before the daimyos got a hold of him for their own personal reasons. But maybe, just maybe, if it's Queen Sarah-sama. Outskirts of the hidden village of the Leaf Uchiha training grounds. A pair of shuriken was thrown in opposite directions, then followed by another pair, albeit much faster, of shuriken. The faster shurikens hit the earlier thrown pair of shurikens, deflecting each other. And the force and direction of deflection allowed all 4 shurikens to hit their respective dartboard-like targets, despite those targets being on his blind side. The shinobi responsible for such display of shuriken mastery landed to the ground, revealing himself as Uchiha Sasuke, who was currently practicing his shuriken mastery. After all, it has been a while since he was able to visit this specific training ground. The last time he did so was before the finals of the Chunin exams before Orochimaru and Suna attacked Konoha, the attack that claimed the 3rd Hokage's life. And since his departure from Konoha until the end of the 4th Shinobi World War, he couldn't return to this training grounds. And even after the war, due to his self-imposed mission of tracking Otsutsuki traces all the while atoning for his previous crimes, Sasuke never attempted to try using the grounds, let alone visit the by then deserted Uchiha clan compound. However, during Kakashi's reign as the current Hokage, he created an ordinance to periodically clean and maintain the Uchiha clan compound and the said clan's training grounds. While Kakashi didn't express explicitly why, Sasuke believed that the Hokage did so to honor the sacrifices of the Uchihas who sacrificed themselves for the sake village, such as Shisui, Itachi, and Obito. This training ground was very special for him, since he has a lot of memories between him and his family, most of those memories were with his elder brother Itachi. He then made his way to the nearest tree, sat under it, relaxing while being enveloped by the comforting shades of its leaves. As he ate the packed lunch that Sakura made for her, he then began remembering how his previous short spar with Naruto have unfolded. Passive Senjutsu usage without entering Sage mode, the 4th Hokage's Hiraishin, Uzumaki clan's chakra chains, and even that new chakra mode Sasuke muttered. To top that, his shinobi fundamentals improved beyond my expectations. He remembered how Naruto can now able to match his Taijutsu and Bukijutsu expertise. He can now exchange shuriken throws and close-ranged physical attacks and weapon exchange properly against him. I believe this is now the right time for me seriously consider acquiring a new left arm. Sasuke decided, remembering how Naruto pleaded to Tsunade to make an arm for him like the one the blonde shinobi had right now after the war. But that time, he, himself, declined. That missing arm is proof of his atonement for all his crimes. However, seeing how much Naruto had grown, and with the threat of other possible Otsutsukas lurking around, he must also start making a step forward and protect the current peace that this world currently had. Sasuke then slowly stood from where he was currently sitting after sensing someone watching over him. He then slowly walked away from the tree, entering the nearby small forest with his eyes and senses remaining vigilant. He just knew that was being lured towards the said direction. He just needed to anticipate whatever ambush that might be waiting against him, strike back, and apprehend the culprit. After walking for a few minutes, Sasuke then stopped his movement, then sighed. After all, most of the world knew him as the current sole person who possessed the Rinnegan, dubbed as the Eyes of the Six Paths. He was challenged by a Kitsurigan user named Chino before, but it barely posed any challenge. Not that he was looking for a challenge at the moment. In fact, he believes that Naruto was the only person who can fight on par against him. That's why someone attempting to ambush or challenge him like this became more of an annoyance for him. A hooded person then appeared behind him, then aimed to attack with a weapon known as Kusurigama. It is a side-like weapon with chains connected to the end of its hilt, and those chains have a huge chunk of iron steel that can be used as a blunt weapon. Sasuke easily dodged the ambush attack from the scythe's blade. The attacker then proceeded to grab the chain part of Kusurigama, then threw the iron chunk on its end on a tree branch, making the chain wrap halfway on the branch, changing the trajectory of the iron chunk, and now aimed towards Sasuke's head. Sasuke then quickly blocked the iron chunk with his sword, but the chains of the Kusurigama wrapped around his sword's blade. However, with a single hand seal, Sasuke emitted lightning chakra from his sword, channeled to the chains, thus directly electrocuting the hooded attacker and destroying the hooded cloak that was concealing the attacker's appearance. And much to the Rinnegan wielder's surprise, the appearance of the attacker caught him off guard. The culprit looked like a kid around the same age as them during their Chunin exam. The kid's white hairstyle was pointing towards one specific direction. And much to his surprise, the white attire that the kid was wearing had the signature Uchiha clan mark, and also, the kid had an active 3-tomoed Sharingan while glaring towards him. This kid Sasuke narrowed his eyes. However, before he can perform his next move, the kid used Shunshin, then disappeared in front of him. He wanted to trace and follow the kid, he easily could if he wanted to, but the situation was screaming as a trap, no matter what angle he looks at it. He might be quite powerful now, but he wasn't stupid enough to act like Naruto even in this kind of situation. A young kid with Sharingan, Sasuke said to himself. He was the last surviving member of the Uchiha clan. He believed he was. And that will never change. Because the kid that he just met with the Sharingan eyes was clearly not an authentic Uchiha. So there's more to it than it seems. And if this little match fire will not be stopped as early as possible, it may create a wildfire before they even knew it. I need to tell Kakashi immediately. Sasuke then used Shunshin as he decided to report the incident directly to Kakashi. The Hokage Tower, hidden village of the sand. On a private onsen bath for VIP female guests of the Kazekage, the former queen of Rauren, Sara was dipping herself on the warm water of the said onsen that could fit around 4 to 5 people. She was sitting on the onsen's floor, her back lying on its walls, with her entire body dipped up to her shoulder within the warm water as steam continued to be emitted, further hiding her naked body. It was an open bath camouflaged by some sort of barrier to protect the guests from being peeked upon while relaxing. Sara then looked towards the sky as she leaned her head to the side of the onsen as she tried to relax. Once again, she found herself having only the stars above to whom she could talk to. Naruto, we finally meet again, and despite the memory sealing jutsu done by Minato-san, he was still able to remember me, she said, not talking specifically to anybody. And Hinata-san, she seems to be a very beautiful and kind person. She said with a small, sad smile. She then recollected herself. She was currently on a timeline where she should never exist, and the person that she fell in love with, the very reason why she's on this timeline to begin with, was already in love with someone else, and that someone was such a kind person whom she feels like she can also never hurt. Why was all that she could say as she folded her legs, bringing her knees close to her face. She wanted to cry, but she can't anymore. She doesn't want to. She should be happy for Naruto and give her best regards to Hinata. Then what should she do after that? She had nowhere to go. She can't even return to her people who have migrated to Suna, since her existence and circumstances will only make things complicated. Aside from the fact that she might also get targeted again if some organizations with ill intentions decided to use her again and gain the power of the sealed Rinyaku, just like what happened with Mukade. She's totally lost on what she should do. The tatami door of the onsen then opened, earning Sara's attention. She looked towards the person who was entering the onsen, expecting it to be Temari, but… hello Sara-sama. Hinata greeted the former queen, much to Sara's surprise. The Hyuga was currently wrapped with nothing except by a towel, intending to take the onsen as well. Hinata-san. Sara replied with an awkward voice. After all, she just happened to hug the wide-eyed girl's fiancé right in front of her just earlier. May I join you? Hinata asked politely. If it's not okay, I'll take my leave. No, please. In fact, I am almost done. You can have the onsen for yourself, Hinata-san. Sara immediately stood and attempted to wrap a towel around her naked form so she can leave. However. Then I'll be leaving as well so we can talk outside once you're done dressing up. Hinata replied with a calm demeanor. She might be smiling, but Sara can't see a hint of seriousness in her eyes. Is it really okay? Sara asked. I thought you might not want to talk with me. I wanted to talk to you, Sarah-sama. Please, just Sarah, Hinata-san. Yes. But also please call me Hinata, Sarah. Sarah nodded. Hinata might look like a calm person, but she can feel that Hinata was also a very strong, determined person. The two girls then dipped themselves on the onsen, their towels folded neatly on the side of the onsen near them. They were sitting together at arm's reach. Hinata has her head lying on the side of the onsen, looking up to the sky, while Sarah had her knees folded in front of her face, as if trying to hide her face from the girl beside her. I'm sorry. Sarah was the first to break the silence. I know that Naruto already has you, but I still ended up hugging him in front of you, Hinata. Well, I do feel jealous because of what you did, Hinata replied, but without any hint of anger, surprising the former queen. However, it can't be helped, right? You fell in love with the same person I fell in love with, after all. You're too kind, Hinata. Sarah replied. What if I did that simply because I want to stir some trouble in your relationship? You won't do that. Hinata said with a kind smile. How can you say that? You already knew that I have feelings for him as well, right? That's exactly the reason. You won't do that. You won't do something that Naruto would not like. Hinata replied to her with an earnest tone and expression. Because you already knew that he will always choose you over me, Sarah said, visible hints of jealousy and sadness filled in her voice. No, I didn't mean it like that, sorry. Hinata said as she looked down. The two then stayed quiet for a while. Then. Hinata. If it's okay, can you please tell me some of your stories about Naruto, Sarah said with a serious expression towards Hinata. Hinata responded with a smile. Naruto was currently standing on the highest veranda near the rooftop of the Kazekage Tower, thinking about Sarah's current circumstances. He's still wondering why Sarah did something dangerous like that. Good thing nothing wrong happened to her. No, everything was wrong. Sarah was currently on a timeline where she shouldn't exist. She can no longer return to her original timeline, as the current history already told that the last queen of Raurin disappeared during the sealing procedures of the Ryumyaku, according to Gaara. He is the reason why she's here. So he's the only one she can believe in on this timeline right now. His 16-year-old self didn't realize it that much, but his current self, after unlocking those sealed memories from the past, allowed him to realize how much amazing of a girl and a queen Sarah was. Despite learning that she was being manipulated as a puppet princess by Mukade for his own bidding, she was able to gather herself and decided to save her people. She even discarded her royal attire back then for her to be able to move better, guiding her people to a safer location as he fought against Mukade. She reminded him of his past self, of how he was a castaway orphan being hated by the village, but despite knowing that, he kept moving forward, allowing him to stand where he is today. Queen Sarah is indeed a wonderful person, Naruto muttered to himself, smiling while looking at the seemingly unreachable horizon. That's why I can't leave her behind like this. She's here because of me. But. He can now clearly remember the forgotten feelings of his past self who fought to save and protect Sarah against Mukade during that mission. He felt connected to her. As the girl tried to change herself, from a girl who can't trust anybody to a queen who will do her best for the sake of her people, her determined expression back then, the way she looked towards him back then, all of it was engraved within him since back then. During the time when Queen Sarah came to understand what she needs to do to become the queen, up to the point where they were about to say goodbye to each other, his past self didn't notice that he had already begun developing some form of admiration for her. And that admiration allowed him to keep standing up and continue fighting despite the beating he received from Mukade. He won't allow his determination to waver no matter what, because he can't let Sarah, who's doing her best in that situation back then, got hurt because of his own weakness. That's why when they were about to part ways after Mukade's defeat and their memories needed to be erased by Minato, he felt a strange feeling that he rarely felt before, the pain of losing someone he truly admires. The fact that he felt such feelings during their supposed separation despite being together for such a short time back then, spoke a lot of how much he somewhat meant to her. That's why when he met her once again earlier, his memories about her might have been sealed, but those feelings were something that can never be sealed by whatever memory-altering jutsu that was used during that time. Earlier, when he finally remembered her, the first thing he yelled at her was the problem that it might cause between the timelines. But those were just mere excuses. Because of his lost memories from back then and the feelings together with it, felt like he was relieved. Relieved because he was able to finally remember her and see her again. He might have encouraged her to become a proper queen for her people back then, but the feelings he had right now after remembering and seeing her felt like he doesn't care about it anymore. He was just happy and pleased that he was able to see her again. But my feelings for Hinata are sincere and true as well, Naruto said to himself. It's not like I already have the same feelings for Sarah, just like how I love Hinata right now. But those memories of my past self kept nagging me that Sarah is also a very important person for me. Naruto sighed. He currently had a problem that most guys of his age will kill for. And he was totally oblivious of it. Hinata and Sarah. Naruto scratched his head with both his hands. Damn it. Hinata and Sarah were now out of the bath and were now in Sarah's room. Hinata continued telling Sarah some stories about Naruto, on how she saved her multiple times in separate situations during missions, in how his words became his strength during difficult battles she had fought against, on how his Nindo changed her from being a meek girl into who she was today. Sarah intently listened to her stories about him. She can see how in love the Hyuga girl was for him. She felt the pain, but at the same time, she can't help but feel glad for Naruto having such a wonderful woman by his side right now. After a few more minutes, the two then went quiet, both looking down towards the floor. Right now, there were no words to say. Until Hinata asked Sarah. Please tell me, Sarah. Hinata said, her expression neutral, towards the red-haired former queen. Do you love Naruto-kun? Yes. I do love him. I am here right now because of him. Sarah didn't avert her gaze. However, this love will never bore anything because he already had you, Hinata. So I'm fine. You don't have to worry about me. Hinata then grabbed both of her hands with both of hers. I know this might be impolite to ask you. But I must. Hinata asked once again, this time, in a more determined tone. Are you alright being Naruto-kun's second wife? Sarah muttered in surprise. It was then that she felt that Hinata's hands were trembling. She immediately realized that it took a lot of courage for Hinata to ask such a question towards her. Let me tell you straight, Sarah. Hinata continued. I love Naruto-kun. I want to spend my life together with him. That is my lifelong dream. I love him so much that it pains me just by asking that question to you. Then why are you asking me such an absurd question? Recently, the daimyos declared a law that allows male shinobi to have multiple wives. They did so due to the excuse of the descending population of the world in connection to the continued wars that happened in the past. And due to shinobi being mostly men, and those men were killed in action during the consecutive war and conflicts, it created a big gap between men and women population and will affect the growth of the succeeding generation. That's why according to the law, to circumvent the said ratio, a male shinobi can marry up to 8 wives, depending on his status and achievements. Sarah is at loss for words due to the sudden revelation. It was then that she saw a lone tear rolling down Hinata's cheeks. I believe you already knew that Naruto-kun was now regarded as the hero of the shinobi world. And due to that, many nobles and daimyos even from other nations will target Naruto-kun for a political or arranged marriage. And I don't like that. But I won't be able to do anything about it if such a thing happens. Then what can we do? Sarah asked, feeling the same concern as Hinata for the blonde shinobi. The only way for Naruto-kun not to be married against his will was that he must marry 8 women before the daimyos begin to use him for forced or political marriages. However, if it's possible, it is preferable that those women whom he must marry beforehand will love him as who knew he is, not what he currently is. That's why I am asking you, Queen Sarah of Raurin, will you help me to protect Naruto as his second wife? Hinata said, but this time, the Hyuga had another lone tear escaping from her eye as she continued to shiver while grabbing both of Sarah's hands. Upon seeing such emotion, Sarah can't help but feel connected to the girl in front of her. She first viewed her as a beautiful, kind, yet determined woman who fell in love with Naruto because of who he actually was. While her point of view of her right now didn't change much, now more than ever, she can feel how much Hinata really loves Naruto for her to ask such a difficult question. She realized that Hinata simply doesn't want Naruto to end up marrying another woman. More so into a woman who will only use him due to his power and fame. While Hinata wanted Naruto all by herself and to spend time as a proper husband and wife, as how it used to in the foreseeable future, she doesn't have any other choice but to accept a law that could break Naruto apart. And she had kept all those feelings within herself so as to not make Naruto worry about it. That's why instead of the worst, Hinata decided to accept the alternative to allow Naruto to marry another girl, a girl who loves Naruto as a person, not as a renowned hero. That was the reason why Hinata was crying in front of her right now. Because Hinata knew that Sarah also loves Naruto, but it will depend if Sarah will accept Naruto having another wife other than her. The two of them understood each other. They both love him so much and both don't want another woman who will only use Naruto for whatever reason. So this time. Understood, Hinata. Sarah smiled towards the Hyuga girl. If you'll allow me, and if Naruto will accept me, please let me be his second wife. Sarah, Hinata muttered as she wiped away her tears. Let us protect him together as his partners in life, Sarah said as she gently hugged Hinata. The Hyuga returned the hug, accepting the other former queen as someone whom she will share Naruto's love with. It was still painful accepting another woman for Naruto other than her, but the pain was not much anymore as she knew now that this person also shared the same feelings as her. And she also believed that like her, Sarah might have also felt the same pain of needing to share their beloved person. It's a mutual situation between them. That's why they can understand each other right now. The two of them let go of each other, then smiled. Let me tell Naruto-kun about this. Hinata said. I'm sure he won't mind, because it is you, Sara. Sara shook her head. Please let me. I want to tell Naruto my own feelings. I want to let him decide for the both of us. She said with a resolute expression. Sara Hinata looked towards the former queen's determined eyes. She then smiled, as if a part of her burden was being lifted off. Naruto remained on the veranda near the top of the Kazekage Tower, still at a loss for what he should do for Sara. He stayed like that for a while, as if hoping that the mild wind could blow away the anxiety that he currently had for his current situation. He was glad that Gaara and Kankuro weren't with him right now. In fact, he understood that they chose to leave him alone for now. What should I do? I love Hinata, I love her so much. But I can't just leave Sara alone, because I will be betraying these feelings from the unlocked memories of the past me during the time I met her. As continued to mumble in circles. Naruto-kun Hinata called him from behind to get his attention. The Hyuga princess then entered the veranda and much to Naruto's surprise, walking behind her was Sara, who had a serious expression on her face. Those were the very same expression she had when he entrusted his Konoha chakra blade to her and also when she discarded a royal robe back then before the final fight against Mukade proceed. Hinata Sara Naruto felt like his heart skipped a beat. He would rather face 1,000 Madara clones right now than deal with the current situation. Naruto-kun. Sara wanted to say something Hinata said with a small smile. Naruto then looked towards Sara, unsure of what she was about to say to him. Hinata and Sara looked towards each other, then exchanged a nod, the gesture surprising the blonde knucklehead. Sara then walked towards Naruto and stood right in front of him. Naruto. Sara said, her purple eyes looking directly at his azure ones, her gaze unwavering. The last time we were able to talk properly with just the two of us was when I told you that I want to know what's really happening in my city during Mukade's reign, right? Yeah, that time you act like a bratty little Naruto. Would you shut up for a moment? The first thing you did to me after we met again was yell at me. So let me do the talking for now, or I won't be able to tell you properly what I need to say. Sara rebutted before Naruto could even finish his statement. The blonde intelligently replied. But within him, he felt relieved. Because this is the Sara that he knew. The strong-willed queen who did her best to save her people. So he just sighed, then looked back directly at her. I know it was too late, but I just want to thank you for everything you did for me back then, Sara said as she also looked directly into his eyes. Thank you for saving me when I almost fell to my death. Thank you for approaching and talking to me after the time I learned that I am only being used by Mukade. Thank you for making me realize what a queen should be and what a queen should be doing for her people. Thank you for giving me the determination and strength that I need so I could do what I need to do. Thank you for saving and protecting me numerous times, despite being beaten badly during your fight against those powerful mechanical puppets. Thank you for continuously standing up no matter how much you were battered. Thank you for everything you did to me back then. Well. I'm just doing my job. A single light glare from the former queen shut Naruto's mouth again. However, Sara then grabbed Naruto's cloak with both her hands, pulling Naruto closer to her face. How dare you make me feel like this? How dare you made me fall in love with you despite our differences? How dare you made me realize that I cannot spend my life alone if you won't be by my side? Sara Naruto, despite trying not to, blushed hard after hearing those words. That's why I need you to take responsibility. Sara was now yelling this time. Her facial expression was now overflowing with emotions. Propose to me, right here, right now. Naruto and Hinata replied with dumbfounded expressions due to the sudden unexpected words that Sara had just said. I have already told you my honest feelings, right? So please, Naruto, Sara said, while her determined expression didn't change, she wasn't able to stop a lone tear from running down her face. I'm glad that you feel that way about me. Honestly, I am completely clueless regarding something like this, Naruto replied, but Naruto then looked towards Hinata, as if afraid of what his fiancé was thinking about the sudden turn of events. Naruto-kun. Please don't mind me for now. I also need to hear your response, Hinata simply said to him. The three then fell silent. Sara let go of Naruto's collar as she looked down to the ground, hiding her eyes with her bangs. Aig. Naruto suddenly rubbed his head with both his hands in a continuous comical fashion. What should I do? I care for Sara. She is a very important person to me. Before I knew Hinata's feelings for me, those unlocked memories from before were telling me that Sara has a place within me. But I already have Hinata. How can you two girls talk like there is nothing wrong with it? Fine. If that's what you want, then so be it. Naruto said with resolve. I have feelings for Sara. She was one of those few people who made me feel like this during that time. I also felt the pain of never seeing her again after defeating Mukade. And I am so happy and relieved that I was able to see her again. But I also love Hinata. She's one of those people who always believed in me. She's been there for me since our childhood days. She loved me even though I did nothing back to her. She continued to believe in me despite almost breaking down on multiple occasions. She's the pillar of my strength even before I even knew it. I love Hinata, yet I also have feelings for Sarah. I'm one of those stupid bastards who happen to fall in love with two different girls. And I am totally torn about it. Naruto yelled. While I love Hinata more than anything, I also feel like Sarah is a very special person to me. So, tell me. What should I do? I can't just discard these feelings I have and move on like these have nothing to do with me. Naruto then stopped while looking towards the two girls, with light panting after yelling. A moment of silence with Naruto trying to calm himself while Hinata and Sarah observed the frantic guy in front of them. I'm glad Sarah looked towards Naruto, then smiled lovingly towards the guy. My feelings got through to you. Hinata then walked to Sarah's side, with the two girls smiling towards each other. What are you? Naruto asked, completely clueless about what the two beautiful girls in front of him were thinking. The daimyo's law, Naruto-kun. Hinata said, smile still painted on her face. But ain't that unfair for the both of you? Naruto rebutted. Both of you are amazing women so. Stop. Hinata immediately said, halting Naruto's sentence. I love you, Naruto-kun. It also happened that Sarah also loves you. It is painful for me to share you with another woman. But with due to how things were turning out due to that law, it will only be a matter of time before it happens. So if such thing will inevitable, I'd rather share you with another woman who will value you the same way that I love you. And Queen Sarah. But. Please, Naruto. Sarah spoke this time. You're the only one who I want to spend my life with. If being your second wife was the best option than the alternative of totally losing you, I'd always choose you over that alternative. Naruto looked directly at the two girls in front of him. Never in his life had he felt so lucky, yet so conflicted at the same time. Are you too sure that you're okay with it? Naruto asked seriously. Sarah replied with a light nod, Hinata said with her usual smile. Both the girls have the same trace of blush on their faces. Well, if it's okay, and the two of you seem to get along, why don't we give it a try? Naruto said while looking away, also with a light blush on his face, while lightly scratching his lower right cheek with his right index finger. After all, despite already having Hinata, I don't know if I can take it if Sarah would be taken by some other man so. Sarah then blushed hard after hearing those words. She intended to tackle Naruto into a hug due to what she just heard, but she restrained herself from doing so, as if still waiting for something to happen. Now what? You can't flatter me with such words. Sarah, blushing like a teen Hinata would, tried to act like her usual queen persona, but completely failing miserably. What now? Naruto, his voice now complaining. Propose to me? You're still going on with that? Hinata had a visible sweat drop after seeing how the two conversed. Fine. Naruto sighed. Then looked seriously toward Sarah. Queen Sarah of Raurin, will you accept being my fiancé and marry me as my second wife? You idiot. This time, after a sincere smile, Sarah tackled Naruto into a hug, a tight, loving hug. Hinata smiled at the two. While it still pained her to see how her fiancé, once again, was hugging another woman, she can't help but smile. However. Sarah suddenly pulled Hinata towards her and Naruto's hug. Sarah also hugged Hinata, with a Hokage acting with a surprised expression. Thank you Hinata for allowing me to be Naruto's second wife. Sarah muttered in a low voice during their hug, but enough for Naruto and Hinata to hear. I love you Naruto. Those heartfelt words made Hinata let her guard down, as she also returned the gesture, hugging both Naruto and Sarah as well. I'm still the first wife so Hinata said while stuttering. Yeah. You'll always be, Hinata. Naruto replied with a grin. Sarah, I may not have the same feelings I have with Hinata for you yet, but that doesn't mean that I don't like you. In fact, I feel like I also love you, Sarah, so please give me time so I can adjust myself and return those feelings to you as my second wife. I know, Sarah replied as she tightened the hug. And I'll also do my best so you can also love me the same way you love Hinata. And Hinata, I promise that you will never regret allowing me to become Naruto's second wife. I swear, as a former queen of Raurin. Hi Hinata lightly leaned this time to Sarah during the hug, now fully accepting the former queen as Naruto's second wife. Somewhere in Sunagakure. A certain small creature was currently watching Naruto, Hinata, and Sarah from a considerable distance, as the three were having such a conversation. While the creature couldn't understand what the three were walking about due to the distance, the creature's grotesque-looking mouth smirked maliciously towards Naruto. So there you are Uzumaki Naruto, the current Jinchuriki of all the tailed beasts, the creature spoke in interest, the creature's singular eye then glowed, revealing itself as a Sharingan. The creature then created a space-time jutsu, then allowed itself to be sucked within the ripple created by the said jutsu. Hidden village of the Sand's main gate. Naruto, Hinata, and Sarah stood just outside the gates as they were about to leave. In front of them were Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro, with some of the village's populace standing a few meters behind them. "So it all worked out for you in the end, Sarah," Temari said as she gave a smile to her new friend. "I am glad for you." "Yes. Thanks for being there for me during this entire time that I spent here in Suna, Temari." Sarah returned the smile. She's currently wearing a hooded cloak for her not to be recognized by the former citizens of Rauren that were assimilated by the Sand Village after the events of the Third Shinobi World War. "Hinata. Please take care of Sarah." Temari turned her attention this time to the Hyuga girl. "This is basically an entirely new world for her. I believe the two of you would definitely be able to get along." "Yes, the two of us have already come to terms with it," Hinata replied to the blonde Kunoichi. Hinata and Sarah then looked towards each other, then exchanged smiles, making Temari return the gesture with her usual Naruto-like grin. On the other hand, "Thanks for the hospitality, Gaara," Naruto said with a big smirk to the Kazekage. "You're always welcome here," Gaara replied with a small smile. "And also, thanks for looking out and taking care of Sarah for me. That meant a lot." "Don't mention it. You'll do the same if you're in my shoes." "Yeah. You know me too well." "Haha." Naruto replied, slightly embarrassed as he scratched the back of his head. But still Gaara then looked towards the three girls who were talking a few meters away from them, specifically towards Hinata and Sarah. "You already have the Byakugan princess. But now, you also happen to make a queen from a distant time fall for you. Hey Gaara. So you now know how to make fun of me, huh?" Naruto gave the red-headed Kazekage a deadpan expression. "But how about you? How are you and your village coping with the implementation of that law?" "Well, despite being a Kage, we are still under the daimyo's authorities, specifically regarding such political matters," Gaara replied. "As for me, as long as that law will not heavily affect the economic movement of the village or the safety of the village in general, I'll just have to comply with that law." "Oh, you don't seem to be that distraught about it. Don't tell me you already have a girl or two." "If Gaara already has one, then we would have introduced her or them to you already," Kankuro rebutted. "All that I can do is to adjust and be a role model to the people of the sand. And besides, it's not like Kankuro knew everything about me." Gaara followed, surprising Kankuro with the thought that Gaara was possibly hiding something from him. "After all, I'm not dense enough to acknowledge other people's feelings around me, unlike the someone that I know." "You really like to make fun of me these few days, huh?" Naruto comically narrowed his eyes towards Gaara. "Just make sure to visit us again sometime. We'll always welcome you with open arms," Kankuro immediately said to Naruto. "Yeah. I know. You guys have all my thanks." Naruto lightly bowed his head. "Hinata, Sarah, we need to go." "Yes." Hinata and Sarah then also lowered their heads to the sand village as they began walking together with Naruto towards the borders of the hot desert of the Wind Country. Some unknown location. The hooded figure stood in one of the elevated areas of the said location. A few meters behind stood the same kid with Sharingan who attempted a short skirmish against Uchiha Sasuke from before. "So you have finally returned," the hooded man said towards the kid with Sharingan. "How's it your impression of Uchiha Sasuke?" "He is indeed very powerful, incredibly powerful," the kid replied emotionlessly. The hooded man looked towards the kid, implying him to continue his evaluation of the lone surviving Uchiha. "But he murdered Itachi. That simply cannot go unpunished." The kid with Sharingan continued, gripping his knuckles. "That's why he must perish and die by my hands." "Very well said." The hooded figure smirked maliciously. "Uchiha Sasuke, he is a true disgrace to the proud clan of the Uchiha. Not only he killed Itachi, but he betrayed his village to join Orochimaru in his quest to gain more power. He then betrayed and disposed of that snake only to join the Akatsuki. Then, ended up also betraying the Akatsuki and returning back to that village. Betrayal clearly runs in his blood." The eye of the hooded figure somewhat glowed right after those words, revealing the eye as a fully matured Sharingan similar to the kid he's talking to. But the two individuals seemingly having a mutual agreement against Sasuke, another creature appeared between them. It was a small creature about the size of a dog, albeit with somewhat deformed physical characteristics, like the finger-sized arms and legs, and notably, its lone eye having the same fully matured Sharingan, similar to the ones within the vicinity. "It seems like Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Hinata are about to leave Sunagakure." The creature spoke, its voice somewhat sounding similar to that of the hooded person. It seemed like the creature took advantage of its space-time jutsu for it to be able to enter and leave Sunagakure, as he pleased to monitor Naruto and Hinata's activities. "Who the so-called hero of the Fourth Shinobi War, the Jinchuriki of all the tailed beasts, Uzumaki Naruto. And the pure-blooded Hyuga who is also known as the Byakugan Princess Hyuga Hinata," the hooded man smirked. "If I remember correctly, the Jinchuriki is said to be a very close friend to Uchiha Sasuke." "That's right." The Sharingan-eyed small creature reaffirmed. And it also seemed like they'll be taking a non-shinobi girl on their ranks on their way back to Konoha. That's rather interesting. The hooded man once again gave an evil smirk. We have little chance if we'll go head to head against the Jinchuriki and the Byakugan princess. However, with that non-shinobi woman in their ranks, we can take advantage of that and use her as their weakness. Indeed. The creature replied, its grotesque-looking mouth smirking at the idea from the hooded man. Alright. Time for the next phase to proceed. The hooded man spoke. Target the Jinchuriki or the Byakugan princess. Bring either of them or even both of them here. Use that other girl who's with them and exploit that weak point. The Jinchuriki and the Byakugan princess, once we were able to capture them, will mark the start of a new era and the revival of the Akatsuki. The creature also spoke in a malicious tone. Understood. Instead of a single voice, multiple identical voices echoed from the vicinity. And from the shadows, several other kids appeared with the very same identical appearance as the initial kid with fully matured Sharingan appeared and let their presence be known. Now this is the wind breeze that I love, Naruto said with a cheerful expression as their group finally entered the borders of the Fire Country. After an hour of break after crossing the borders of the Wind Country and the Fire Country, the trio decided to finally resume their travels. Hinata actually asked Sarah if it is alright for her to continue traveling after such a short break since they've just been through a scorching desert, but Sarah said that it was alright since she grew up surrounded by desert, so such heat was just an everyday thing for her. Since Sarah wasn't a shinobi, Naruto volunteered to carry her on his back, earning a small blush from the former queen. But Sarah dismissed his offer and chose to be carried by Hinata, upon which Hinata immediately agreed. While Hinata might have a perfect slender body like that of a beautiful woman, she still was a well-trained kunoichi. So her carrying someone of her weight like Sarah won't be that much of a problem for her. Naruto and Hinata then began hopping at high speeds from branch to branch of the trees, en route back to Konoha, with Naruto delightfully enjoying the wind breeze flowing from the shades of the trees they were passing through, while Sarah was smiling all the time. This was her first time being surrounded by such large trees, and such calming breeze from their current movement speed made her feel so refreshed. You know Hinata, I think you're a very awesome girl. Sarah suddenly whispered to Hinata. What's that all of a sudden, Sarah? Hinata replied. I mean, we're about the same age and physiques, yet you can carry me so casually despite moving like this at high speeds. It made me wonder actually if this was the feeling of a backpack being carried by the shinobi during your missions. Comparing a queen to some luggage is a bit. Hinata, I am no longer a queen. Sarah said in a commanding yet playful tone. I want you to be comfortable with me. We'll be living like sisters from now on. Right? Yeah. Sorry. Hinata politely apologized. Well, I do already have come to terms with it. All the sudden events involving Naruto-kun, me, and you from the past few days are still a bit new for me. Same for me. That's why I want the two of us to actually get along properly. Sarah said with a small smile. Naruto is the only one I have when I came to this timeline. But now, you're with me as well. That's why I want the two of us to have a close relationship if it's okay with you. Yes. You don't have to worry about it. You're a wonderful person, Sarah. Hinata replied. You see Naruto the same way I see him. That's why I believe that we can get along properly. The two girls smiled at each other. While there might still be some wall between the two of them, they both knew that they could breach that wall as time goes on. Not only for Naruto, but for the two of them as well. And they'll be going to take that process one step at a time. Naruto then looked towards the Hinata and Sarah. He's currently hopping a few meters ahead of them, trying to sense any possible dangers and deal with them as fast as possible if something ever happens. That's why he can't hear the conversation between the two. But still, to see the important women of his life having such conversations with smiles on their faces made him also feel happy for a reason. His love for Hinata did not waver, yet his feelings for Sarah were also becoming somewhat stronger. Hinata supported and loved him even before their academy days. Sarah also showed her strong feelings for him by discarding everything and chased him in this timeline. The only way he can return those feelings to them was to make them happy and ensure that he will always protect them no matter what. This is Naruto suddenly narrowed his eyes. In truth, now that he's thinking about it, he already knew that he'll still always be a constant target by some rogue organizations due to him being the Jinchuriki of all the tailed beasts. At the same time, Hinata can also be targeted, rather, has already been targeted a few times due to her pure Hyuga bloodline and her fully matured Byakugan. And in Sarah's case, once someone caught the wind of her having access to the Ryumyaku, the potent chakra Li line existing within the ruins of Rauren, she might also end up being targeted as well by those same organizations. After all, based on his now more advanced sensing capabilities, the chakra potency within of the said Li line, more or less, could rival the chakra levels of that of the Juubi. Well, the world was currently at peace, and such organizations were now being hunted down with the collective efforts of the 5 Kages. The risks were still there. Just like the ones that he just sensed who were following them right now. Naruto immediately looked towards Hinata. And with eye-to-eye contact, the two of them nodded to each other. Sarah wondered what those gestures was about, but she thought that it might be a shinobi thing or something. Naruto then threw Hiraishin kunai, then performed a single hand seal for kunai kage bunshin. The now multiple Hiraishin kunais landed in a circular pattern on the ground, with Naruto and Hinata landing in the middle of the said circular pattern. Hinata then have Sarah stand on her feet as she activated her Byakugan and prepared her usual Juken fighting stance. 6 hostiles, Hinata muttered, her Byakugan tracing their attackers. Yeah, Naruto affirmed. Hinata, I'll be the one to engage them. Please focus on protecting Sarah. You will only take action just in case an attack happens to bypass what I'm about to do. Yes. Hinata nodded, believing in her fiancé like she used to. Just be careful out there, Sarah said with visible worry for her beloved knucklehead. In that instance, a rain of shurikens, kunais, and other bladed shinobi weapons came into view, coming from multiple directions, with numbers ranging from several tens to hundreds, dashing in high speed towards them. Naruto then drew another Hiraishin kunai from his weapon pocket while sensing the trajectory of each individual weapons that were aimed towards them. And in that instance, Naruto disappeared from his current position, then all that Hinata saw were multiple flickering sounds, followed by some sort of reddish-orange flashes, all the while hearing multiple metallic clashing sounds echoing around them. Her Byakugan saw the shurikens, kunais, and other weapons that were supposed to be aimed at them being flung away, due to Naruto deflecting them by flashing through the Hiraishin kunais surrounding them in circular pattern. So this is the 4th Hiraishin. While she already saw a glimpse of the jutsu during his quick battle against Sasuke a few days ago, seeing it up close and personal like this still made her feel dumbstruck. This is the jutsu that made the 4th Hokage, one of the most powerful shinobi of his time. And now, his son, Naruto, was taking the mantle and was now using that said jutsu as his own. After a few good seconds, Naruto returned from his previous position in a flash with his right knee kneeling down to the ground. He then slowly stood up, his eyes all serious, as he once again tried sensing his surroundings. What just happened? Sarah muttered, somewhat speechless, due to the sudden turn of events. She saw a barrage of kunai from all sides aimed at them earlier, but in literal flashes and movement, all the weapons were deflected and sent flying to the nearest trees or empty space, with the 3 of them totally unharmed. She knew that Naruto was the one responsible for deflecting the attacks, based on the brief conversation with Hinata earlier, but still, she was quite in awe after realizing that Naruto was now capable of doing such moves. Here they come, Naruto said seriously as he positioned his Hiraishin kunai equipped on his right hand in a reverse grip, horizontal pose. From the shadows of the trees, 6 individuals with identical appearances came out, with all of them having albino-like skin, white hair that was pointing upwards in one specific direction, and the most notable were the Sharingan, Hinata muttered, narrowing her eyes. Yes, Sharingan. However, I can sense that they barely have an Uchiha blood in them. Silence, Jinchuriki. One of them Sharingan-wielding kid spoke. Who are you kids? And what do you want from us? We are Shin Uchiha. Another of the kids spoke. And father said to bring all of you with us. Naruto then narrowed his eyes as he sensed that the kids were needing chakra on their Sharingan eyes. And much to his and Hinata's surprise, the Sharingan morphed into a unique pattern, transforming into the renowned upgraded version of the regular Sharingan. This is Manjikyu Sharingan, Hinata said. So no need to hold back for me. Then Naruto then began flaring his potent chakra, creating cracks on the ground and shaking the trees nearest them. The kids with Manjikyu, now collectively known as Shin Uchiha, were taken aback by the sudden massive pressure. The pressure being directed at them was so immense that they felt like suffocating, with even their throat and mouth feeling like suddenly just they dried up. Let's go. The kids with Manjikyu gritted their teeth to endure the pressure, then performed hand seals in perfect synchronization, with their Manjikyu eyes glowing. In that instance, the previous bladed weapons that Naruto deflected earlier began moving again. I see, so this is the power of their Manjikyu, Naruto said as he observed the pattern and movement of the kids that were controlling the bladed projectiles. The bladed weapons then, instead of attacking them once again, began to move in a circular pattern, encircling the ground where Naruto, Hinata, and Sarah were currently located. As more blades began moving and joining the earlier blades moving in a circular pattern, the speed of their movement became faster and faster, until it became too fast that the blades now created a makeshift whirlwind due to the rapid spinning movement of the blades, with the epicenter acting as the trio's prison. With seemingly no means of escape unless risking an attack that would greatly damage them due to the blades surrounding them. However, for Naruto, this is another way for him to try using some other jutsus, and he learned from his previous training and real-time fight. He can easily escape this trap together with his fiancées if he wanted to. Still, he saw this as an opportunity to try his other new jutsus before it became public knowledge. Hinata, Sarah, what I'm about to show you right now is still a confidential jutsu. Naruto said, with Hinata and Sarah nodding. Stick close to me and be amazed to Bayo. In that instance, the bluish chakra that Naruto was kneading slowly changed its color to reddish-orange color. Hinata expected a Bidua-related power-up due to the chakra's change of hue, however, much to her surprise, a different chakra construct started to form, a form that shouldn't be possible for someone like Naruto. This is Susanoo, Hinata said in wonder as the skeletal ribcage enclosed the three of them. The ethereal chakra construct continued to increase its size, including its 2 pairs of skeletal arms, then its musculature enveloped the skeletal structure, followed by its shell-like armor, until forming a half-bodied humanoid shape, with an appearance strikingly similar to that of Uchiha Itachi Susanoo. Hinata then immediately looked towards Naruto's eyes, and as expected, the blonde shinobi retained his usual azure-colored eyes like he normally had. But how come? But the single swing from one of its limbs, the half-bodied humanoid Susanoo destroyed the whirlwind of bladed weapons surrounding them. The Susanoo then raised 4 of its limbs, all of which were equipped with Susanoo's projected chakra sword, then. Since all of you had Manjikyu, I believe you have been through some grueling training, so I know that all of you can survive this. Naruto then opted for the Susanoo to slam all its swords simultaneously to the ground, greatly shaking the entire forest. Several trees were blown away, with huge crevices on the ground where each of the Susanoo swords was swung down. As the dust and smoke from the attack dispersed, Naruto saw the Shinichihas lying down on the ground, most of them unconscious, with the only one not having lost consciousness glaring towards Naruto. Naruto then dispelled the Susanoo after seeing that their attackers no longer have the means to fight back. As Naruto was about to move to approach the remaining conscious kid, a small creature with a grotesque physical appearance, and with its one eye notably having the same matured Sharingan as the other kids he just defeated appeared beside one of the unconscious Shinichiha. While Naruto narrowed his eyes, wondering what this creature was about to do, the creature used a space-time jutsu, absorbing the Shinichiha beside it, seemingly to teleport it away from their current location. Space-timed ninjutsu similar to Kamui's teleportation ability, so they also have access to such. Naruto then glared at the remaining conscious Shinichiha. And as expected, the creature reappeared again to claim another unconscious Shinichiha. However, this time, the creature appeared between the 2 unconscious Uchihas that happened to land near each other due to the impact of Naruto's earlier attack before losing consciousness. Naruto then sharply threw a shuriken towards the creature, but the creature was able to teleport away together with the 2 unconscious Uchihas before the shuriken could even land. The creature once again reappeared right behind the 4th unconscious Shinichiha, attempting to teleport the said kid away as it did from the earlier 3. But Naruto then dashed at massive speeds, intending to knock the creature out before it could teleport. However, the sole remaining Shinichiha who retained its consciousness blocked Naruto's path. The blonde shinobi was able to knock the kid out easily, however, that was more than enough time for the creature to teleport the 4th kid away. Naruto then grabbed the Uchiha kid that he had just knocked out by its collar with his left hand, then focused on the one remaining unconscious Uchiha that was lying in distance. He drew a Hiraishin kunai and equipped it on his right hand, preparing to use Hiraishin to knock the teleporting creature out should he sense even a little distortion in space-time around the final remaining Uchiha kid. But much to his surprise, the ripple in space-time appeared right above Sarah and Hinata instead. And while Hinata noticed the creature's sudden appearance right above them, she can't just strike it carelessly, since the space-time jutsu might teleport her away in contact. Those bastards, they intend to take Hinata and Sarah away. At moment's notice, instead of the Hiraishin, Naruto threw the unconscious Uchiha Shin that he was currently grabbing on his left hand towards the space-time jutsu where the creature was supposed to appear. And as the creature appeared in the middle of the ripple intending to teleport Hinata and Sarah to their hideout, the creature got hit by the unconscious Uchiha Shin that Naruto just threw, immediately warping themselves away in contact. Without any hesitation, Naruto threw the Hiraishin kunai he was currently holding, targeting it to land between Sarah and Hinata. Naruto then used Shunshin towards the final Shinichiha, grabbed it by the collar, and before the Hiraishin kunai he just threw land, Naruto flashed into the said kunai, caught the said weapon mid-air, then stood right beside Hinata and Sarah. "How dare you target the people I care about?" Naruto said, his eyes dangerously filled in rage due to the previous attempt against Hinata and Sarah. After a few seconds, then a minute, then another minute, but the creature with the Sharingan didn't return to either target the girls or the remaining unconscious Shinichiha that he was currently grabbing by the collar. "Stop." The hooded man, the seemingly eldest Shinichiha, stopped the creature from returning back in an attempt to claim the final Shinichiha or capture at least the pure-blooded Hyuga. "Why?" The creature with the Sharingan retorted. We should recover that final clone of us or at the very least, capture the Hyuga. We need either an Uchiha, a pure-blooded Hyuga, or a Bijuu for us to execute our plans. Remember, once Konoha got a hold of even a single clone of ours, it'll compromise our plans and put us at a huge disadvantage. If you return back to where Uzumaki Naruto currently is for whatever attempts you intend to right now, you'll be dead meat before you even know it. The hooded Shin Uchiha replied coldly. You already performed your space-time ninjutsu in front of him more than once. He'll get caught off guard the first or second time. But remember, you were only able to escape the third and fourth time due to circumstances. If you return right now, I believe that'll be your very last moment. Then tell me. The creature asked once again. We have sent 6 of your clones against him, all with Manjikyu Sharingan active. Uchiha Madara was able to subdue the 9 tails with just his Manjikyu. So we should be capable of that as well. But he defeated all of us without tapping the Bijuu chakra within him. I know. If he used any of his Bijuu abilities, we might have a chance to use Manjikyu Gain Jutsu and incapacitate him. The hooded Shin Uchiha muttered. But he had already become much more powerful than before. Specifically that Susanoo. The Susanoo, a power said to rival those of the Bijuus, shouldn't be accessible by non-Manjikyu users, let alone a non-Uchiha. We already have the power of the Manjikyu, yet we couldn't use that jutsu. Uzumaki Naruto is an anomaly. A disgrace to Uchiha's power, much like Uchiha Sasuke. And I'll make sure that those two will meet their ends once they face me. It seems like it's over. Hinata, she said, is deactivated her Byakugan. What did just happen? Sara asked in worry. As a royalty who grew up within the walls of a formerly great city, such events like this were somewhat foreign to her. While she already saw how a shinobi battles back then against Mukade, she still can't comprehend what just happened in the past few minutes. Some group attempted to ambush us, and we just did an act of self-defense. Naruto grinned toward Sara, reassuring the former queen. I promise that I will protect the two of you, right? Sara nodded with a smile, then exchanged smiles with Hinata. The blonde shinobi then performed a series of hand signs, then lightly slapped his palm to the forehead of the remaining unconscious Shin Uchiha. The Fuinjutsu somewhat has the effect of temporarily sealing the consciousness of the victim, so it won't wake up on their way to Konoha and cause them trouble along the way. Naruto then summoned 2 Kage Bunshins, and before the 2 girls could react, each of the clones lifted the 2 girls respectively, princess-style, earning a blush from the 2 girls. Naruto-kun, I can. Hinata said with a blush on her face. I know. But right now, you shouldn't. The Naruto clone lifting her said as he, together with the other clone who was carrying Sara, leaped to the nearest branch and start moving at a much faster pace than before. Since we already knew that we are being targeted, we need to move faster and return to Konoha as soon as possible. The original Naruto then lifted the unconscious Uchiha, latched it on his left shoulder, then also followed his clones with a serious expression. You're concerned about this incident, right? Hinata asked. Yeah. The Kage Bunshin who's carrying her replied. A group of individuals with possibly transplanted Manjikyu Sharingan and with access to space-time ninjutsu, everything about the group responsible for this screams trouble. I know that you can trace them with your sage mode. But it's a good thing you didn't. There is a high possibility that having you search for them on your own might be a trap. And even if you decided to chase them, I'll still stop you from doing so. The Bunshin replied with a nod. And besides, I won't track and chase them while you and Sara were still outside the village. And since we're dealing with Manjikyu Sharingan and space-time jutsus here, it'll be best to have Sasuke tag along while dealing with them. Well, I can deal with them all on my own. Sasuke's eyes can still see something beyond what I can perceive. And with these elements coming into play, I believe that would be the most logical route that we must take for now. Hinata gave a gentle smile towards Naruto. While he still remained as the same Naruto that she always knew, it is a joy for her to see how her beloved blonde shinobi was now acting more mature and more shinobi-like than before. By the way, if isn't too much to ask, Naruto-kun. HNN. How come you can use a Susanoo without having a Manjikyu, let alone a Sharingan? The Naruto Bunshin carrying her reacted with his usual squinted eyes with a thinking expression. You see, it is true that Uchihas must have unlocked their Manjikyu Sharingan to be able to use Susanoo. That will always be the case and that will never change. However, recently, there were a few exceptions that slightly altered that, but that exception still must abide by the actual rule. Remember that during the Fourth Shinobi War, Madara was able to use his Susanoo despite being literally blind. No Manjikyu, no Sharingan, not even an eyeball. Then there's also Kakashi-sensei, who was able to use Obito's Susanoo for a few minutes during our fight against Kagaya, despite him literally not having any biological relation to the Uchihas, except from the chakra lent to him by Obito. I see Hinata lightly nodded. But still. None from Konoha may have knew, but I have fragments of Uchiha chakra that was dormant within me. The Naruto Bunshin continued. First, Uchiha Itachi used his crow, which was made from his very own chakra, as a vessel to give me a power that he believed that I can use against Sasuke should he ever decide to attack Konoha back then. Second, the power that Itachi's crow contained that time that entered my body was Uchiha Shisui's very own eye and chakra. Third, Uchiha Obito used his own 6 paths empowered chakra to transfer the Yin Kurama and fragments of Shukaku and Hachibi's chakra within me before our final battle with Madara. And it should be noted that all those Uchihas were able to unlock and capable of using their own respective Susanus. And those chakra, if used the same way they did it to me into other ordinary shinobi, will simply extinguish and disappear after use or within a certain time period. However, due to my special circumstances being an Uzumaki with powerful chakra and life force, those chakra remained within me, albeit became dormant. Then came the right arm created by Granny Tsunade that was made entirely from first Hokage cells and DNA. We knew very well why Orochimaru, Danzo, and even Madara, to name a few, were so obsessed with the first cells, right? The first Hokage, Hashirama Senju cells, were brimming with powerful life force and overwhelming chakra that could augment anything it touched, similar to how the Bijuas are to its Jinchuriki. That's why when this right arm was attached to me, the life force and chakra from the huge amounts from the cultivated first Hokage cells gradually revitalized those dormant Uchiha chakra within me. And during my most recent training at the Mount Mayakobu, those chakra became fully awakened within me. And since my chakra properties were now much stronger than those Uchiha chakra, they were assimilated by my chakra, and those Uchiha chakra fragments became part of my own. That allowed me to access and use the Susanoo as part of my chakra, allowing me to use Susanoo, since it only requires chakra from those who were able to already access it. But those other Sharingan-specific jutsus like Amaterasu and Tsukiyomi are out of the question, since those jutsus require an actual Mangekyou Sharingan for them to be used. Wow, Hinata can only mutter in awe as she heard Naruto's explanation. With all your new jutsus and skills, I am actually wondering what kind of training you've been through for the past year. Please don't ask. Naruto Bunshin sighed. It was hell. I see. Hinata gave a difficult smile in response after seeing Naruto's expression. Well, just keep that information with us three for now. Naruto Bunshin then grinned back towards Hinata. Let's speed up even more. Let's go. The original Naruto then said to his Bunshins as he hopped past them. He needs to inform Konoha of this sudden ambush against them. The group was no mere random organization. They have access to Mangekyou Sharingan and space-time jutsu. Well, Konoha can fend them off with him and Sasuke around. How about the other hidden villages? The Kage Bunshins complied, then further increased their speed en route to Konoha, while making sure that Sara won't be overwhelmed by such movement speeds. From a certain distant land outside of the 5 great shinobi countries' domain. The girl from that certain country shot her eyes open, as if a nightmare woke her up from her deep sleep. A bead of sweat rolled down her cheeks while panting lightly. She then gripped her blanket, worry painted on her face. The ancient demon Moryu is about to be revived again, the said girl with long blonde hair said to herself, as memories from her past encounter with the said demon came rushing at full force within her mind. Every certain period of time, once it met the required conditions, the seal that was binding the demon with great power known as Moryo will gradually weaken, allowing the demon to reach its own revival cycle. And 5 years ago, Moryo's seal has been weakened and nearly resurrected in full incarnation, endangering the entire world. However, this girl, who possessed a special power whose sole purpose was to seal the aforementioned demon, was able to defeat and reseal Moryo during his previous revival cycle with the help of a certain shinobi from the hidden village of the Leaves. The very same shinobi who defied the foresight of his supposed death while protecting her, the very same shinobi who chose to save her from being assimilated by Moryo, the very same shinobi who helped her accept her duties and responsibilities as a priestess tasked to protect the world against such demons. The very same shinobi who taught her to create her own destiny instead of following a predetermined path that she'll never be happy with. The very same shinobi whom she very had deep affection with. Yet the very same shinobi that she now came to hate so much. As much as I don't intend to, it seems like the land of demons will need Konohagakure's assistance again to defeat Moryo, she said to herself as she stood up and wore her robe. I'll have no choice but to meet you again, Uzumaki Naruto, she said with a neutral expression. However, can I still do it? Do I still have the power to seal Moryo and help save this world? Naruto, Hinata and Sarah arrived at Konoha's main gate, with Naruto still having the unconscious Uchiha latched on his right shoulder. They were greeted by the gate's guard on duty, with Hinata filling up the basic information needed before they entered the village. During their arrival at Konoha's main gate, Sarah discarded her hooded cloak, revealing her royal attire like what she used to wear during her time in Rauren. So for onlookers, Sarah is a very beautiful girl with gestures and movements so refined that other men looking towards her were stunned, and some were even blushing. This made them wonder who she actually was, and after seeing how she's walking together with Hinata and Naruto, again wondered what her relationship was with the two said prominent Konoha shinobi. The trio then immediately proceeded to the Hokage tower to avoid further unnecessary attention. The three of them entered the Hokage's office, and much to Hinata and Naruto's surprise, Sasuke, Sakura, Sai and Shikamaru were already together with Kakashi, as if they were already discussing something serious. Oh, good timing. Kakashi greeted the newly arrived group with his usual eye smile. How's your trip at Suna? Who's that girl? Kakashi immediately noticed the beautiful red-haired girl beside Hinata. Sarah immediately held the two sides of her robe and bowed down elegantly, a greeting that was usually being done by royalties. Kakashi then immediately shifted his attention to the other thing he noticed. And who's that person you're carrying, Naruto? Naruto gently put the unconscious Uchiha down. Sasuke immediately recognized the unconscious kid, then glared at it seriously. That's him, Sasuke immediately said, surprising Kakashi, Sakura and Sai, while Shikamaru narrowed his eyes. Or at the very least, this is the appearance of the kid who attacked me. You mean that kid with Sharingan? Sakura asked. Apparently, it ain't just a kid. Kids. Naruto said as he performed a hand seal to dispel the fuinjutsu he applied to the kid's eyes. He is not alone. 6 of the same kids, all very identical to each other in appearance, attacked us while on our way back here. At first, I thought that they were some bunch-inner sorts. But they are all real. This is not something that can be done by regular cloning jutsu. 6 identical copies. Shikamaru lightly raised his voice. Yeah. They ambushed us on our way back here. Of course, we fought back. However, they also have access to space-time jutsu, so most were able to escape, with this kid being the only one that I was able to capture. Naruto then completed the unsealing of his fuinjutsu, allowing the unconscious Uchiha kid to regain consciousness. Shikamaru. Use your shadow binding jutsu on him immediately. Shikamaru complied even before Naruto could complete his statement. The moment that Shin Uchiha opened his eyes, he already cannot move due to the shadow binding jutsu performed against him by Konoha's resident tactician. Impressive, Naruto. You were able to capture this one without any visible damage. You said that you fought against the 6 of them, right? Kakashi said while looking towards Shin Uchiha, whose eyes now completely morphed into Manjikyu Sharingan. That's right. Be careful though. His Manjikyu is capable of manipulating metals, based on our encounter. But there's a possibility that there's more to it than it seems. That's good enough. Sasuke then immediately stood in front of Shin Uchiha. Let's see what other things you have in mind. The Rinnegan wielder then cast a gain jutsu to the kid, making the kid fall to the ground unconscious, again. This time, Sasuke picked up the unconscious kid, then attempted to walk outside the Hokage's office. Don't be too harsh on him, Sasuke. He's just a kid. Naruto said towards his friend. You're too soft. Now that we already know there were 6 of them, that at the very least, all of them were capable of using Manjikyu Sharingan, and they also have access to some space-time jutsu, this was already a serious matter that could threaten the peace that we have right now. We can't afford to take any chances. Sasuke replied with his usual monotone voice. Don't worry, Naruto, I'll be coming with him. Shikamaru tapped the shoulder of his blonde friend as he followed Sasuke's footsteps towards the exit of the office. I'll make sure that we'll interrogate the kid properly. Thanks, Shikamaru. Naruto replied with a small smile. Sasuke looked towards Naruto, then towards the red-haired girl beside him. And here I thought you were so against that law. Yet you already got one ahead of me. Naruto immediately blushed comically out of embarrassment, then reacted with his usual hyperactive reaction when embarrassed. Team. You want a piece of me, Tobeo? Sasuke, with a small smirk, immediately went out of the room with Shikamaru lightly snickering while closing the office's door. Well then, Kakashi then gave an eye smile to Naruto and Hinata, then to the beautiful red-haired girl beside them, with Sakura and Sai looking towards them with curious expression. I believe you have something to tell me. Naruto then immediately used a series of hand seals, then slammed his right hand to the floor, casting a soundproofing fuinjutsu within the room to ensure that no one could eavesdrop on this conversation. Once again, Kakashi, Sakura and Sai were surprised of Naruto's current proficiency with fuinjutsu, starting from how he sealed and undid the same seal from the eyes and consciousness of Shin Uchiha, and now, the soundproofing seal he just did. So the Toad Sages also taught you of Uzumaki clan's fuinjutsu, Kakashi smiled within himself. Sensei's Rasengan and Hiraishin, and now Kushina-sen's chakra chains and fuinjutsu, you really are your prodigious parents' child, Naruto. The red-haired girl then took a step forward, her unwavering eyes directly looking towards Kakashi. I apologize for the late introduction, Sarah said as formally as possible with a light bow. I am the former queen of the lost city of Raurin, Sara. The lost city, Sai muttered in surprise. Of Raurin? Sakura also muttered with the same reaction. As if also remembering something, Kakashi narrowed his eyes. This will be quite a long story. So may I request your utmost attention, Hokage-sama, shinobi of Konoha. Sara spoke as politely as she could towards Kakashi, Sakura, and Sai. Naruto and Hinata then stood behind her, as if intending to let her take the stage and just support her for whatever. An hour later. So Kakashi said, rubbing his temples. You're the queen of Raurin from 20 years ago, got involved with Mucade, then Naruto came from this timeline, and with the help of a team of Konoha shinobi of your timeline, defeated that missing nin. But when Naruto was about to return to his regular timeline, you two have physical contact at the last second, sending you on the future timeline, albeit 4 years after that said mission. Sara nodded in response. Sakura and Sai also attested a part of that mission because they were the ones who took the mission together with Naruto, albeit they were not caught with the Ryumyaku's light back then, which resulted in such time travel shenanigans. And under some additional circumstances involving the Kazekage, you ended up being Naruto's second fiancé, as per the newly implemented feudal law, am I right? Naruto, Hinata and Sara nodded in unison. Kakashi can't help but sigh. A very deep sigh. How come trouble always finds its way into Naruto without even trying? Hokage-sama. Sara then approached Kakashi, then pulled out her treasured chakra blade. She then placed it on the table in front of Kakashi. This is? Kakashi looked curiously at the chakra blade, surprisingly for him, it has Konoha's symbol on its hilt. Please touch this blade. It may give you the answers you need. Kakashi then complied, touching the chakra blade. All of a sudden, flashes of sealed memory began flooding his mind. In that instance, certain sealed memories of his past covered his vision in white. Flashback. At that time, he was currently 12-year-old. He was included in that mission. Minato Namikaze brought him together with Chaozu Akimichi and Shibi Aburami. Minato instructed him to simply watch on the sidelines, not meddle in the fight no matter what. However, he gave the young shinobi a task to implant exploding tags all over the central district of Raurin and detonate them on command. So he had no choice but watch how Minato, Chaozu, and Shibi fought against a monstrous puppet whom he understood as the main perpetrator of whatever was happening in Raurin. Yet he saw a blonde-haired shinobi who also have a Konoha forehead protector, however, he was not familiar with said blonde-haired shinobi, who had a strikingly similar appearance and physique to that of his sensei. And despite not being too familiar with him, the younger blonde shinobi will always comply with the older blonde's instruction during battle. Minato tasked that blonde shinobi with protecting the queen of Raurin. And he did so, despite being beaten badly, by the more powerful opponent, without any hesitation. As he continued to watch from a safe distance as the battle unfolded, he found another weird man wearing the same Konoha forehead protector sneaking around. He led the weird man to the place where the final phase of the battle seemed to unfold until Minato and the younger blonde shinobi combined their Rasengan to defeat the massive puppet in the process. It should be impossible for anyone other than Minato to use the Rasengan, yet the kid was able to not only match but also synchronize their Rasengan to deliver the final blow against the opponent. As the building began to collapse due to the damage it received during the battle, the weird man he was currently with grabbed him and used Mokuton-based jutsu to save Minato, the queen, and the other blonde-haired shinobi from falling down to the turbulent Ryumyaku. After a few formalities, the Ryumyaku was sealed by Minato, and with that, the other blonde shinobi and the weird man began glowing. After Minato's explanation, Kakashi then knew that the two Konoha shinobi whom he was not familiar with were from the future, and it was time for them to return to their own timeline after Mucade's defeat. He then saw the sadness on the queen's face after realizing that the blonde shinobi from the future was now about to disappear. The two had their last intimate talk before they were about to part ways. Even for a child like him, he understood that these two created a strong bond with each other, a bond possibly stronger than friendship, so the only thing he can think of it was a bond called love. Not that it matters for him. The queen and the blonde shinobi from the future were from different timelines, after all. He knew that wherever feelings they have for each other won't bear any fruit. He just felt sorry for the two of them. However, much to his surprise before the blonde shinobi completely disappears, the queen ran and attempted to hug him one last time, only for the queen to disappear as well, together with the blonde shinobi from the future. Flashback end. Kakashi had his right elbow on his desk, grabbing his face. He can't believe what he just saw. Kakashi-sensei Sakura attempted to approach Kakashi to see if he is alright. I am fine, Sakura. Thanks. Kakashi gave a reassuring eye smile, recovering his composure. The memories are just too much that I am having a hard time apprehending it. Kakashi then took a deep breath. The memories that his sensei sealed that time, those memories alone were enough to verify Queen Sara's stories. But more than that, what surprised him was the fact that he had already met Naruto even before the blonde knucklehead was born. The way Minato and Naruto fought together during that time, including that powerful Rasengan that defeated Mukade, made him feel somewhat mushy from within. It all makes sense now. Thank you for recovering my sealed memories, Sarah-sama. Kakashi said with a smile towards the former queen. Please, I am no longer a queen. I am just Sarah right now. Sarah smiled. I am here because of Naruto. And with Hinata's big heart, I can now spend time together with him. I gambled back then, and that gamble paid off. That's why all that I am requesting for now, and hopefully you won't mind, Hokage-sama, is to accept me as a citizen of Konoha and as Naruto's second fiancé. Kakashi looked directly towards her eyes. Sarah's purple eyes were staring at him, as if trying to bore a hole in his head. He remembered his thoughts about the futile affections that Naruto and Sarah had for each other during the end of that mission. Then sighed in defeat. They said that love can move mountains, yet Queen Sarah bypassed the laws of time and space for the sake of her feelings. I can't help but feel amazed, yet at the same time, also feel happy for her and Naruto. Sakura, on the other hand, have her mouth hanging, while Sai simply gave his usual mysterious smile after hearing Sarah's plea. Sakura and Sai can't believe a former queen of such beauty will be willing to go to such lengths, discarding her royalty and even leaving her own timeline, for her to be able to spend her life for the man she fell in love with. Not just that, but Hinata herself, the renowned Byakugan princess even in other hidden villages and countries, was also a beauty in her own right. Alright. Kakashi then immediately recomposed himself again. One thing. Do you still have access to the Ryumyaku, Sarah? Yes. So if it happens that someone got a wind of your circumstances, some will also target you, so they can use that Lee line of chakra for their own bidding, Kakashi muttered. Don't worry, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto said with a serious yet confident expression. I'll protect her, no matter what. What about you, Hinata? Are you alright with Naruto having another woman? I have already come to terms with it. And we both know what our responsibility will be. Hinata replied, not a hint of hesitation in her words. She then smiled at Sarah, and Sarah returned the gesture. The exchange of smiles between the two females close to Naruto made Kakashi smile. He felt like he was watching an Icha sequel. No, he internally punched himself in the head. Okay. I have nothing else to say. Kakashi summarized. This information will only be between select Konoha individuals. I will also have to tell Shikamaru and Sasuke about it. But for now, welcome to Konoha, Lady Sarah. Sarah's eyes beamed in happiness as she immediately ran towards Hinata for a friendly hug. Hinata also hugged her back with a smile on her face, while Naruto grinned happily towards them. After a few more arrangements and sharing of information, Kakashi dismissed Team 7 from his office. And before he returned to the mountain of paperworks, he looked towards a separate pile of documents that he specifically set aside due to special reasons. Political marriage proposals, attempts for arranged marriage. Kakashi looked towards the said papers. And with a little flick from his finger that released a tiny bit of lightning chakra, the said papers were fried, nearly turning the entirety of those piles of papers into scattered ashes. I won't allow such to limit my students' growth. They have their own path ahead of them. I will protect them on my own terms, Kakashi said while looking at the picture of Team 7 during their earlier genin days that he always had on his office table. Sasuke, Shikamaru, and Ibiki Marino walked out of the interrogation room, leaving the captured Shin Uchiha behind. The Uchiha kid had both his arms tied behind his back, his hands wrapped in special thick clothing to prevent him from performing shinobi hand seals, and his eyes were currently blindfolded with Fuinjutsu insignia, making the Uchiha kid unable to use any of his Sharingan abilities. Whoever was behind this knew who they were up against, Sasuke said to the two individuals with him. I used Genjutsu with my Sharingan to look within his memories, and the majority of his memories were sealed. The Fuinjutsu that were locking out those sealed memories were enough to block even my Manjikyu Sharingan's Genjutsu. Well, they can also use Manjikyu, so I think it is not too far-fetched that they knew how to deal with against a Manjikyu Genjutsu. Then why don't you use your Rinnegan's abilities? Ibiki asked in a serious tone. I'll need to rip his soul out of his body for me to be able to do that, Sasuke replied. Like what Naruto had said, this Shin Uchiha that was currently in our custody still is a kid and might be just following orders from a shrewd individual. That's why I won't compromise his life just for whatever memories were still sealed within him. If it's the past me though, I would never hesitate to do something like that. However, you were still able to get some information through your Genjutsu, right? Shikamaru asked this time. Yes. And that information was more than enough for now. Sasuke answered as he began walking away. I already have an overview of their mastermind and the true ability of their Manjikyu. However, the main question here was, how did they acquire such a number of Sharingan, and how come all of them have identical Manjikyu Sharingan and its subsequent specific ability? That's what I'm also thinking. Naruto implied that their Mangekyou was capable of controlling metallic weapons, or in other words, all non-living matter, once they came in contact with it. But that shouldn't be, since as far as our intel and archives know, each Mangekyou by Uchihas who was able to unlock it have certain abilities specific for only that specific Mangekyou wielding Uchiha. Shikamaru added as Sasuke stopped right before he exited the door. Aside from the fact that this kid is not an authentic legitimate Uchiha, Sasuke said. So it all boils down to one option. Genetic transplant or mutation. Ibiki Morino summarized. And in this current time of peace, there is only one person who is shrewd enough to perform such acts. Orochimaru, Sasuke said as he finally exited the door, leaving Ibiki and Shikamaru. Ibiki then looked towards the one-sided tinted glass wall, his attention directed towards the captured Shin Uchiha. So he won't compromise the life of a kid, even if that kid was the one who attempted to ambush him, and Naruto Shikamaru sighed, then smirked. A few years ago, most of us from our generation mutually agreed to fight and kill Sasuke due to the crimes he committed back then. Most of us have given up on him. But right now, he's here in the village, supporting it within the shadows. Naruto was able to reach him. Those two were able to understand one another. I don't know how or what Naruto did say to him, but he really has a knack for talking some sense to people. That Uzumaki brat really had come a long way. Ibiki gave a small smile, still looking towards their captured Uchiha. To think that 3 years ago, it was Uchiha Sasuke being the one who was confined in such state after the 4th Shinobi War. Those two really were the pillars of our current generation. What a drag. Shikamaru then followed Sasuke while scratching the back of his head. Well, I can finally breathe normally now that Hiashi-san has been informed of the situation, Naruto said as he sighed in relief. He was currently standing in front of Hinata and Sarah. The three of them were currently standing in front of the Hyuga Manor's main gate. Father might be strict, but he is an understanding person, Hinata replied to the blonde knucklehead. For now, I'll have Sarah stay here with us in the Hyuga compound, since I can't Yeah, Sarah said lightly, tapping Hinata's shoulder twice. You're supposed to be the main fiancé, so you can't have the second fiancé stay with Naruto alone for the night due to reasons. I'm sorry, Hinata lowered her head with a huge blush on her face. You don't have to, Hinata. Sarah lightly waved both her hands. I also have to prepare myself due to the sudden change of events, so this will be the best for the both of us. Naruto gulped while watching the two girls speak like that. He might be naive, but he's not that stupid. But he can't help but smile. Hinata, despite being her usual shy self, still was asserting herself like that because of him. She might have already accepted Sarah as his second fiancé, but she can't just yield her feelings for him as the first woman who truly loved him. And despite Sarah's lineage as a queen, she's humble enough to accept their current arrangement just like that. Would you be really okay on your own tonight? Do you want us to come over and cook you some dinner? Hinata asked Naruto in sincere concern. I don't know how to cook yet, but I'll help with any way I can. Sarah also added. No, I'm fine. Naruto replied with a smile. I am used to living alone, you see, so he said in an as a matter-of-fact tone. Hinata then gave a sad expression, while Sarah was surprised after hearing those words. Naruto, however, simply bid farewell to the two as he began jogging away and immediately turned away to the nearest intersection. Just what did he mean by that, Hinata? Sarah looked towards Hinata with serious eyes. Sure though, she had heard of Naruto's stories from Temari, but those were mostly during the times when she was fighting with Naruto as comrades, including the events of the 4th Shinobi War. And during the time that Sarah and Hinata were getting to know each other in Suna, Hinata only told her about those missions when the two of them were designated as teammates. It is as if that Sarah realized just right now that she might have known Naruto based on the time that he spent with him and based on the stories from Temari and Hinata, and all of those were about him being a shinobi. But she also just realized right now that she knew basically nothing about Naruto's past and personal life. Hinata then contemplated as she looked down. I don't know if I have the right to tell you about that. Hinata. I need to know. Sarah said in a more serious manner, her voice akin to a royal commanding her subject. She realized that but didn't back down and continued with the same tone. I know you're the first wife. And I will not contest that since I suddenly just barged in between your relationship. But I can't help it. I love him just like how much you do. So please, between us two women, and being the person who's been with Naruto since childhood, I need to know who Naruto really is and how he managed to become who he is today. Hinata and Sarah then looked towards each other, their gazes both unwavering. I understand. Hinata nodded, finally recollecting herself. It will be quite a long story, and what I'm about to tell you was merely my side of the story. But if you really want to truly understand him, you will need to ask him directly about it. Hinata said with a serious expression. Sarah nodded with a smile. The two girls then walked inside the Hyuga manor, entered Hinata's room, where Hinata began telling Sarah the story of starting from a certain night, the night when Naruto was born. On the other hand, the very moment that Naruto reached a considerable distance from the Hyuga manor, he looked towards the sky, then stretched his left arm with his left index finger pointing sideways. A certain small hawk then landed on his left index finger, with a small piece of paper tied on its tarsus. The moment that Naruto untied and got that note, the small hawk dispersed into a puff of smoke. "Come on, Sasuke, we're both currently in the village. Wouldn't it hurt you to tell me something like this in person?" Naruto complained. However, his eyebrows narrowed after reading the content of the paper. Tomorrow morning before the sun rises. Konoha's left wing. Mission. Raid Orochimaru's laboratory, rank A. Orochimaru? Naruto narrowed his eyes. This might be related to those kids with magic Q. Naruto then, instead of walking on his way home, decided to hop away for faster movement so he can prepare for their upcoming mission as soon as possible. Nighttime. As the moon shone down on the land, several shinobi approached each other to change their scheduled shifts to guard an enormous structure. "Is it really necessary to still guard this enormous thing?" one of the random shinobi said. "I don't know. But it is a decree from the Shinobi Alliance. Since our village is part of it, we have no choice but to comply," the other random shinobi replied. "But a thing this large, stretching from tens of kilometers, there is no way that this thing will be stolen, right? Who knows? There were hundreds of shinobi stations surrounding this stump for it to be protected from evil organizations and use this stump for their own whim. We fought hard for this peace, so this is the least we can do to protect it, right? Yeah, this stump is the very monument left behind during the previous shinobi war after all, the stump of the Shinju created by the Akatsuki." The two shinobi then further exchanged stories about their current peaceful life. But unknowingly to them there were multiple red-eyed individuals watching over them, including all the other shinobi posts and stations that were surrounding the entire stump of the Shinju. And each time the guards let their guard down, the red-eyed individuals will use a jutsu and implant it on the vital parts of the Shinju stump and will use their red eye, the Sharingan, to program the activation of the said jutsu. From a far, far distant star, there existed a world, a planet almost twice as large as the shinobi world, now devoid of life. The entire surface of the planet now looked like a barren wasteland. Aside from those multiple towering huge trees. These trees were the only living things on the planet right after they completely drained its life and energy. And all those trees were now bearing a single fruit, a bizarre yet powerful fruit that can give enormous power to those who will consume it. The chakra fruit. The chakra fruit, created by the respective god trees, bloomed from that planet and were now waiting to be harvested and consumed. And standing on top of one of the said god trees stood two individuals wearing attire and appearance which was quite similar to that of Toneri Otsutsuki. One of them had a towering height and a huge physique. The other has a smaller physical appearance yet was visibly much more powerful than the other. And the most notable feature was both of their eyes were the same as of Kagaya the Byakugan. And this is quite a harvest. The one with a smaller physique looked round, seemingly content with all the god trees, each bearing their own chakra fruits that can even be seen beyond the horizon. He then levitated towards one of the human-sized chakra fruit. And using the Rinnegan on his right palm, compressed the chakra fruit to fit on his palm, then began eating the chakra fruit. The very moment that the chakra fruit was plucked, the god tree where the fruit was plucked morphed into a one-eyed beast, the 10 tails. The 10 tails roared mightily, shaking the earth beneath them. However, the larger one among the two beings projected a massive red-colored hammer, then with impossible speeds, slammed it to the head of the 10 tails, knocking it unconscious. "You're just a seedling." The larger one spoke as he now stood on top of the gigantic unconscious beast. "We'll move you into another planet, implant you there and give us another fruit for us to consume." "Well done, Kinshiki." The smaller one spoke as he descended while levitating after totally consuming the chakra fruit. "I'm back to full power again. Well, we still have a lot of chakra fruits on this planet to consume. I guess it is time for us to look for another planet where we can implant that seedling." "Hi, Mamashiki-sama." The larger one, now known as Kinshiki, bowed politely to the smaller man, now known as Mamashiki. "But still, we have yet to hear anything about Isiki and Kagaya's whereabouts. The clan lost contact with them the very moment they went to that dimension." "Indeed." Mamashiki replied. "Those two might have found a much better dimension with planets brimming with life, perfect to create more powerful chakra fruits and better seedlings. And they might have taken it all on their own and betrayed the clan." "That's right, Mamashiki-sama." Kinshiki said. "That's why I suggest that we must visit the dimension where they currently were and see if they have really betrayed the clan." Mamashiki then gave an evil smirk. "Very well. Let's pay them their much needed visit." So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys, let me know in the comments section how was the story and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video, bye bye.